I'm going to go start the recording and say, welcome, Irwin Luck. We are so fortunate to have you with us today on Baba's birthday, 130th, I think.
Well, Baba would be quite old now. That's why he had to get out of his body. He didn't want to be that old. It was enough. He did his work, and that's what he came for. So now we can join him because we're just occupying a body for the time being. These bodies don't last long. They're quite perishable. And then you have to go on from there. So he tells us where to go. Anyhow, that's how I see it. And I see it that way because he explained it that way. I only see what he explained. What do you want? Yes.
I wanted to say something and ask you. I don't know how exactly I see this, but I wanted to get your perspective when Baba said that he is born and dies every second.
Well, in us, he does. All these people that are constantly coming in and take birth are being born, and he says he's in everyone. Now, we don't see him like that. We see ourselves separate from everyone, but he sees himself as in everyone. So there's a great difference in the consciousness of what he sees compared to how we do it, how we see it. And then he dies as things happen through accident, through old age, or through any kind of wars and killings and people by the thousands and battlefields dead. You hear more about the living ones, the ones that didn't die, than all the thousands and maybe millions that have died. So in that way he does, but it's all a process of what they call transmigration. You go out of your body, and then you have to go on to experience the environment wherever else that you move on to. And then you have to get reborn again if you still have more things to do here. So it all has to do with desire. If you desire to be in the world and in the body, then you'll take another one. And if you're finished with that, then you can move on into the subtle planes and into the mental planes, and then beyond that to where Baba's experience is in the God realized state. Because God realization is a state of consciousness in everybody. And we have to get to that. That's the goal. And they think of God as being someone else. There's no one else out there. You're the only one there. So the one self is the one self behind all the bodies and minds of everybody everywhere. And that's what he sees. He sees himself like that. And he wants to bring us up to his level. That's what he's here for. It isn't a question of him having to give you something. It's already there. The only place that you can go is within your own being. And Baba is that being, which we call him the Oversoul. We call him God. We give a label to it, a name. It's all language. It has nothing to do with the experience, but it is a reference for us to understand something. So through the intellect, we can understand a few things. And he explains it as much as our intellects can understand and grapple with these things. But he wants us to know this so that we're not in a state of fear and in a state of confusion. So he explains everything. He said he would break a silence. So I asked people if they read the book, God Speaks. What is it? He didn't break a silence. He wrote a book called God Speaks. And then if he's going to break a silence in other ways, more internally, that's up to him, how he does, how he works. He knows his own work. He's You're following a world-class avatar. You're lucky to do that. Not too many people can, and not too many people do. But if you listen to him, and he explains in our understanding so many really great things that he tells us about love and about truth and about knowledge and the powers latent within the soul. These are our goals. And you can't reach these goals. You know, this is interesting because we have a goal that we can't reach. But with the help of a master who is already there, then it's possible to reach it. And that's how he says to do it. Because in the end, he says, everybody comes to my feet. You know, all the people that like him and don't like him and they're against him or they're for him, it doesn't matter to him. You have all these impressions stamped on your mind that provide your life. You live through your mental impressions, and whatever it is, that's how you express yourself, and that's what you do. So he has to clear all that away so you can see the real thing. These impressions are not the real thing. So he has to clear it away, and he does that, you know, and he's good at his job. You know, he's very good at it. He's been doing it for ages. That's why he's called the Ancient One. If you had been around as long as him, you'd know everything also. Next. You'll have to forgive me. I got this cough and it hangs in there.
I hear you. That's okay,
Yes.
Irwin.
You want to ask something? Now's the time. Thank you.
Uh-oh. Come on, move on. I see Marvin is here. I'm surprised Marvin hasn't asked you a question. Good morning, Marvin.
Where is Marvin?
Marvin's on the screen. There he is. He's getting in the car. That's why. Maybe he can't ask anything because he's in the car.
Hi, hey Bob, everyone. Yeah, I'm driving in the car actually, so I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. I am Marvin.
Hi.
You want to ask me something? Maybe I know the answer.
Not really. I think any question that I've come up with in the last 30 years, I found the answer already.
Well, that's good. We got to get you up here to talk. Well, all right. That's good.
The last question I had was, where did all the souls come from? You know, in the last century.
Where did they come from?
Yeah, well, then I found the answer in 2 books that they came from other planets.
Well, that's a limited view of it, of course, that they come from other planets because they have to come from somewhere before that. And Baba did tell us in his divine book, God Speaks, that there's in the beginning, there is the urge to know yourself. And the self that you have that wants to know itself is what we refer to as God or the oversoul or the one self. Baba explained that there's only one self in existence. One self. There isn't 2 selves. There's one. And that it's the same self that's behind all the bodies and minds of all beings, whether in the subhuman stages or in the human stage or in the more advanced conscious stages of the planes, or in the beyond state. In the beyond state, it's called beyond because it's beyond all limitations. And you experience yourself as everything everywhere. So the one self sees itself as innumerable beings. But how can it do this? It has to imagine itself as someone else. This is called imagination. And that's why Baba explained that it's all illusion. You think that there are so many selves. There isn't so many selves. There is only one self in existence. And he said that he is that one self. meaning that he is fully conscious of the self that he is. And then when you gain God realization, as it's called, then you experience yourself as what he is. See, there's one self. You experience yourself as the one self. So that's where it all begins. But then, of course, these all these selves that occur in the imagination, which he refers to also as a dream. He said you're in a dream and you think it's real. So, all right, you think it's real because that's all you experience. Of course, you think it's real. You don't experience anything else. So you have to experience, think is real what you experience. And you're experiencing your everyday life. This is the way it is at our stage of the game. So we experience it like that. And that's what Baba is saying is all illusion. You have to wake up from this. So he called himself the awakener. He doesn't come to satisfy just every desire that you have. I mean, people have a lot of desires because their everyday life, they feel short on certain elements of their life, and they pray to God to please help them so they can get what they need or what they want. And so he's compassionate. Who are you praying to? You're praying to your own higher self, which is Meher Baba, which is God. You can call him by any name, Jesus Christ. I mean, these are all labels. They don't mean nothing in the ultimate reality. They're just names, language. But it has a meaning because they represent something, and they represent what you truly are. Now you're going to go to different. So there's so many souls being born all the time in this imaginary life, and they transmigrate to different worlds and to different places, wherever their consciousness is whatever they require in the conscious stage that you are. And then you can travel to this world. So Baba did say that all these scientific inventions that are being done now in this age, which hasn't happened for thousands of years, is from souls that are coming in to take advantage of the avataric advent. And this is being giving science a tremendous boost because so many of them come from very advanced worlds where science is very high. So they are doing that here and giving science a tremendous boost. But it's all done so they can get the advantage of the avataric advent. And Baba did tell us that in this planet Earth, now he's speaking of a planet, the planet Earth has a special place in the universe because souls have to migrate here to take advantage of the perfect masters and the avatar to get this to go into the higher spiritual planes. They have to advance and go within now. Everything was outside themselves before, but now they have to go within and they have to experience the inner planes, which are the subtle and mental spheres that Baba spoke of. And then at some point, the avatar comes along and actually wakes you up. It has nothing to do with meditation, contemplation, concentration, the yogas, the exercises, the fasting. All of that is superficial. What it has to do is being woke up. And to wake up is something that no one can do except someone who is awake. And this is what Baba's purpose is. His purpose as the awakener is to literally wake you up out of a dream that you think is real and which you live your everyday life in. So the importance of the master, the avatar himself, is tremendous. You know, there's nothing can happen other than this, according to him. Now, the only way I know all this here is because he explained it. So anybody can know it. You can hear his explanations. It's very clear, very much to the point, and then understand it for yourself. You don't have to hear it from me or anybody else. It's all there for you to hear and understand yourself. But it has to come from somebody that has the authority and the experience of what he's talking about. And Baba has that. That's what Baba is. He's the avatar, means God in human form. He also explained that avatar means much more than that. It means God in every form, whether it's subhuman, human, on the higher conscious stages of the planes, for those persons that are on those levels. He knows his stuff, and he knows that the only thing that has to happen is to wake up. And he is the awakener. But you can't wake yourself up. That's the trouble. You're caught up in the fascinations and the interests of the mind, and you're absorbed by that. And you're not going to just wake up. There is a way of waking up, even there, when the dream itself runs its course. But that can take such a long time. I think Upasni Maharaj spoke about it taking hundreds of thousands of lakhs of lives. A lakh is 100,000. So, everything is possible because it's all within you. And sooner or later, you have to come to the truth about who you are and what you are and the completeness of your being. And this is what Baba does. He helps you towards that completeness. So you can see yourself as infinite bliss. Who sees themselves as infinite bliss? I don't know anybody. Baba says he experiences that. And he also told us that we don't even have the slightest whiff of that experience. We can understand it intellectually in some way by relating it maybe to some form of happiness that we have. But, but to experience this bliss, this eternal bliss, which makes you realize that you are eternal, that you're not a perishable body, and that you're caught in it and will die, and that you are the body. You're not the body. You do inhabit it. You inhabit a body. They're kind of perishable. They don't last long. But if the body doesn't last long, so take another one. That's the way it works. When you're done with one, it doesn't work anymore, then you have to go on to take another one, and until you learn all the lessons that life has to teach, and then you don't need bodies anymore. Your consciousness is free of it. All right. Well, anyhow, that's how he explains things. So now we're fortunate. We're living at a time when the avatar has come. When I was with him, I was thinking at one point, here I am sitting with someone who is in infinite consciousness and experiences himself to be everywhere and everything, while I'm sitting here all absorbed in my own desires and thoughts and limited feelings and total limitation. And I'm sitting with somebody that's totally unlimited. How did the two of us get together like this? Yeah, tell me that, how did we're all in all the time of eternity and in all the space that there is in the universe, we're both together now. He's sitting here and I'm sitting here. How did this happen? Well, the point is that he makes things happen. And when the time is right for you, then the time is right. Time also is illusory because it's always now. It's never before or after. You're living in the now all the time. There's one now. It has no beginning and no end. A now has no beginning and no end. So if you ever want to know what has no beginning and an end, that you can try it now. How's that out? Try that one out. And then if you want to know about the history of everything in the past, you have to know it in the now. You have to remember it. It's a memory. You have to think about it in the now. And then in the future, you can anticipate or imagine what the future possibilities are. And you can do that, but that is also done in the now. The now is the only real moment that there is. And you get to that point where in Baba's state, he lives in that now. So he can say he's going to do this or that or the other, he goes by what the needs are. He doesn't respond, so far as I could tell, by what your requests are and your desires are. I mean, he'll give you what you want also. He's very compassionate that way, but then again, that don't last. And he is always living in his own time zone. And he tells us that, but we don't always get it, So many things he says goes over our head because we don't experience it. If we experienced it, then we would stick to it and we would understand it better. But we can still understand what he says to whatever degree. And I just, I like my Mayor Baba. Judy, Judy says that she doesn't know about all this philosophical stuff. She only knows that she loves him. And when she told this to a group of, they were having a convention of all the philosophers and religious theologians and others that were giving their discourses about and yogas and everything, and they were talking about all these things. And then when her turn came, she just got up and said, I don't know anything. I just love him. And they all stood up and gave her a standing ovation. There you go. Go with love. Yeah, well, that's what happens. Love is love. You can't beat it. And
I
Bob,
was
it's all about love. If you love him, you're going to end up doing what he says, because that's what you do with people that you love. You do what they say because you love them. You'll do anything for someone that you love. That's another thing. Sorry about all that coughing, but everything happens.
Irwin, I was just gonna ask you about
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about loving Mayor Baba, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
Before you do something that someone says, you got to at least like them. And then when he tells you, I want you to do everything I tell you because I'm the only one that knows anything, then you better love him. Because if you do, then you're able to do that without resistance and without, feeling that they're controlling you or doing something to you. The ego is very strong, and people have been deceived a lot, one to the other. And mainly it's all due to ignorance and not knowing what is real, what is not real, what is right, and what is good for everybody, and what is only good for yourself. So there's that. But when you deal with somebody that has no ego, because he already has everything. Listen, he says he's infinite in his consciousness of infinite bliss, infinite knowledge, infinite love. When you talk infinite, you're talking unlimited. There is no limitation. We are bound by every kind of limitation you can think of, but he's not. And the only thing that he can do is to help others to become unlimited. There's nothing else for an unlimited person to do. What is he going to do? It's nothing he wants from anybody that he couldn't have immediately by himself. In the state of unlimitation, you have to just realize that there's nothing that doesn't happen that you don't want, that everything works all the time, because you see it all. We're like people that are looking at a big painting a huge painting, and you see only one little fractional point of it, and you try to make sense out of the whole thing by looking at that one little point. He sees the whole thing. You see, that's the difference. So it's very good to have the advantage of somebody like that. I say, if you want to make friends with somebody, make friends with somebody who runs the universe. You know, it's a good friend. He'll always be at your level, but at the same time, he is at his own level too. And he brings you up to his level. Baba did say, I've come down from the highest level to your level in order to bring you up to my level. He's not making himself exclusive. He's just saying, look, you want to come up to my level? Okay, that can be done. You want to come up to my level? And I was, when I was with him, I said, you know, that's a good idea. I think I'm going to try that. I'd like to try another level. And he does like that, you know. Baba is very generous in that respect. He's very, very generous. You couldn't find anybody more so. But love is love. How can he not love? He has unconditional love. And it's very simple to understand why. Because he's in everyone. He sees himself as the self of everyone. So how can he not have compassion and love? He's for his own self and everybody. That's why a perfect being is perfect, has perfect love, you know, the perfect love, because they see themselves the way they see themselves. If you saw yourself like that now, you would have the same unconditional love for all beings. And no, you know, when Jesus Christ said to turn the other cheek, nobody can do this here. You know, somebody attacks you and you're going to turn the other cheek. You're going to try and defend yourself, or maybe to do the person in even. But if you see yourself as the other person also, and understood them from what their mind is showing them, then you could have that kind of understanding and compassion. You know, you're not fighting anyone. There's no one to fight. There's no one out there to fight. So that's how it's done. You see, you have to come up to his level in order to do things like that. And then it's simple. Until then, you're going to react in the way that your own mind tells you. And that's how you work. That's how it works. Yeah. What else? The
I'm
most
looking for
quiet
questions.
audience I ever saw.
Here we go. You're sure. We got Shelley Smith.
Hello, Shelley.
You're still muted,
There
dear.
we go. There we go. Takes me a few minutes to unmute myself. Hi, I had really two questions. One was about some things Baba said, but another one, much more important, was being someone who was never with Baba physically. I love to, in remembrance, try to imagine myself being with Baba, sitting next to him, having him hug me, all those things. And as one of the last people that has met Baba, I would love to just hear you talk about what it felt like to be in his physical presence. So that's my main question. But my other one is sort of more depressing, which is that I read some things in Baba where he says, oh, everyone is destined to be God realized. But then there's other and they would have to be, right? Because everything is one. But then I read other things that say only 1 in a million souls will ever reach God realization. I sometimes underline those things because they upset me so much. So anyway, I'm sure it's just like one of those things that seems a contradiction to us, but isn't really. But I wondered about your thoughts. But the first one is really much more important to me because I feel like all the intellectual stuff is fine, but what really matters to me, at least, is just trying to keep Baba in my consciousness as often as I can, and the emotions, the feeling of love that Baba gives you if you turn your face to the sun, I think he says. So anyway, that's what I'm mainly wondering about.
You know, when I first went in to see Baba, he was in his room. There was about 15 people in the room, people, his followers, lovers, Mandali, whoever, and just put it here. So my first, so the first thing he did is he just opened his arms up like this, and he grabbed me up and embraced me and hugged me and kissed me on my cheeks, and he had me sit near him. It was very human. I mean, Baba was really, truly human, and he knew just how to be a human. Well, I felt like a long lost son that had one day come home. That was my initial feeling. There was nothing supernatural occurring. It was just, you know, a lot of warmth and love. And I felt like I was part of his family because he had me going out meeting all of his family members and people that were close to him. So it's family. You have to understand, Baba wanted you to feel very natural and very much at ease in his company. And he wanted you to be normal, you know, yourself, not to put on any pretenses that you're holier because you're meeting an avatar or something. It was nothing like that. It was just and he wanted me to be close to him, to stay close. Wherever he went, he would take me with him. And this is the way it was. The first day he had me go to the samadhi of Hazrat Babajan, his own master, that gave him the God realized state. And he was he loved Babajan very much. He would just light up if her name was even mentioned. He just loved her so much. Well, why not? I mean, here's somebody that gives you God realization and enlightens you to see yourself as the ocean of infinite knowledge and power and bliss. You're going to like that person too. How can you miss? You know, somebody's going to do that for you. It's going to be pretty good, and you can't help liking them, actually. Well, he loved her, and I often said that everybody needs their Babajan. You'd like to meet your own Babajan. But in some way, after I thought about it later, I realized that Babajan was very much there for everybody because what she gave to him was herself. And he now was to give it to everyone else. So in that way, Babajan reaches out to everybody through Merwan. And that is the role of the avatar. As Merwan, he's the avatar. So he has to reach out to everyone because we can't really understand or reach out to him. It's beyond our understanding to do something like that. And so he reaches out to us. And in reaching out to us, we begin to feel warm towards him. We feel family. You see, the warmest thing you can feel is probably family. And he becomes the elder in your family, and you listen to him and you like him, and you know that he'll always be in your corner. He's always there to help you with whatever your needs are, desires even. You know, and he says like that, you know, in love, you can achieve anything. It is the law of the lawless universe. There's no higher law than love. You can recite all kinds. You can be the good guy or the bad guy in your life, But if you come to the avatar, then all that goes to the side. Doesn't matter how good or bad you are. He has to wipe all that out anyhow, so that you can see your real self. Everything of the mind that clouds the self needs to be washed off. And he's the great cleaner. He cleans you up. And it don't matter what your past has been. Could be good or not. That's why he said, even if the worst scoundrel stood before me and I had the wish, I could make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. When I read that previous to meeting him, I said, now I gotta go over there and see him. What he can do in a second, it doesn't take long. However, he's going to do whatever he does. When Baba Jan enlightened him, how long did it take her? With one kiss, that was the physical expression of what she did internally. She awakened him to his real self. And then he was physically walking around where he was not even, it was like his body was on automatic. It wasn't, he wasn't really consciously functioning in it. So the body just did its thing. It works and it pumps blood and it does whatever it does and it walks around. But afterwards, when he was with Upasni Maharaj, Upasni brought his consciousness down into the body state so that he could actually do things for others, to help them. And at that point, then it was no more automatic. It was now where he had a conscious volition of everything he did. And he could do his work, he could do a lot of work for humanity. They say that there's prophets that try to predict the future. So many predict this or that. Some things are right and other things not. But whatever they predict, Baba was not a prophet. He created the future. He made the future. So a person that makes the future is going to know the future. They're not prophesizing. And one example of that is when he was in Italy and there was a cave of St. Francis that he wanted to go and visit. And he wanted to go into that cave. And he told his disciples that they were to stand outside, watch, not to allow anybody to come in while he was there. So he went in there. When he came out, he was very happy and he looked all aglow and everything. So they asked him what happened inside. And he said there was a meeting of the masters and the course of the world for the next 2,000 years has been set. So when somebody makes the future, they know the future. It doesn't mean they're going to tell you everything about the future. They'll maybe give you some outline of it, but you don't get the details. That has to work itself out. And these masters, the 5 that live in the world at all times, are the ones to administrate whatever the decision is that the avatar makes as to what the future of humanity, and it goes far beyond humanity. It goes, he's universal. The whole universe. You don't even have any idea of how vast work that he performs, because we see things as human beings in our world, and everything that's right in front of our nose is what we deal with. But the thing is, there's a whole universe out there, and he has to deal with all the evolution of lives coming in and out of the different worlds and places, and yes, you have no idea what he does. So that's part of it. But just the same, he did give us a bare understanding that the course of the world, and we presume it's this world, that has been set for the next 2,000 years. So there you have that. All right. So he knows the future, he makes the future, so he knows the future. Simple, it's the best way to know the future is to make it.
Well, Joy Carlson has her hand up, Baba, Irwin.
What?
I just said Joy has her hand up. I think she's got a question for you.
All right.
Go ahead, Joy. You need to unmute, dear.
Hiya, Joy.
Still muted, Joy. There you are. Joy? I don't think we can hear you, honey. No. Joy, you okay. Your audio isn't coming through, Joy. You might have to log off and log back on to get through so we can hear you. Okay. But I see Meher Kiran.
Yeah.
Do you want to go
Yeah.
ahead,
Hi, Irwin. I'm Meher Kiran. Yeah. So I saw videos of you interviewing, Baba people. When you're, I think, very young, but so many good images. So I want to know from you, what are those experiences meeting Indian Andhra people, especially interviewing them? Is there any strangeness, or what is your overall, or any stories you want to share which are very unique?
Well, Baba took all nationalities and all people as human beings. He looked at us not for our religious differences or our national differences or where we come from or our language differences. To him, these differences were just for us as we function in our everyday life. But he wanted to bring us to a level that was his own level. And then you see yourself as one with everybody. There is no differences. And because we're all at the human level now. And in the human level, you have a full consciousness, which, by the way, is the requirement for gaining a body in the on Earth. You require to be human. You require a full consciousness, and you evolve that through through a long evolution, where you develop a full consciousness. But once you do, then you can take the human form. That is the only condition for acquiring a human form. It's not how good or bad you are, what religion you are, where you were born, or any of these items. So Baba comes for everybody, and he loved the Andhra people, and he said that they had good mentality. In Hamirpur, he said it was they had good hearts. The heart quality was developed. In different places, it all depends on how your evolution has been and where you've been and what you've experienced as to what you're thinking and how you feel about things nowadays. But Baba had a way of reaching everybody because he was so universal in his own consciousness that he could even reach out to the Mus who were on a higher planes of consciousness, and they just adored him. They just loved him because they saw him more like what he really is, even though they couldn't see the real thing still because they're not that advanced yet, but they could see more probably about his heart qualities than what we could see. So Andhra and other places, wherever in the world he went, he had a connection with everybody. And that connection is how you're able to appreciate him and to want to be with him and to stick with him and to follow him and to, it all has to do with the connection that you have evolved in your own self, that you can understand him. you know, it's takes a long time to do that. Not everybody in the world is doing that. People will hear about him and they won't understand. But then there are so many that do. It's just how much you've evolved yourself as to where you are in your own appreciation of what you can feel about his love and his knowledge and his and who he is as the awakener. When I came to him, he said that I had to try and see him as he really is. So I said, good, you know, I'd like to see you as you really are, of course. You know, why not? See him as he really is. But it's up to him to make that possible. You know, he can say what you have to do, but how are you going to do it? He has to help you make it possible. And you have to ask him to do that. You have to get his permission and his okay. And then he has his own ways of making that possible. But he will tell you what you have to do. And then it's up to you to figure it out, how you're going to do it. My way that I figured it out is I don't do anything. I just ask him if he can do it, you see, not like that. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. He said that if whoever says his name at the time of breathing his last will come to him, will to realize him as God. Well, I was not trusting myself so much that I could say his name at the time of when I'm passing away. There may be other things in my mind at that time. Who knows? But I wrote to him back and I said that I would like for him that when he goes, that he should remember me, because I could trust that far more, him remembering me than me remembering him. And that's what I did. So now that is due to happen. And he did tell me and my brother both when we were leaving one day, he said, one day I'll give you the highest experience. So however high that is, I can only imagine that it's his experience, because he's the highest, you know, he's the highest that I know about. So it'll come about that time. Right now, I don't have that. No, it's not happening this minute. Next.
We want to hear more and more. So there is, I hope, more stories I can hear.
Well, yes, we love stories, don't we? We're born story likers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Baba creates a great drama for us. People are worried a lot when they see the world situation and how things go and all the wars and everything that happens. And they suffer just hearing about it, much less to actually be in it. And so you have to come to terms with what's going on between what you see in front of your nose and what you hear about in the world situation. And what Baba is saying, that it's all a dream, illusion. You have to somehow come to terms with this. How did the two things fit together? And in my mind, it came about fairly easily, because when Baba explained how all the world leaders are just like puppets on the strings of the masters, because the masters are in control of the mind. The universal mind contains in it the minds of everyone and everything. And if you control the mind, or you have access to influence the mind, then anything and everything is possible, because all people operate through the use of their mind. And these world leaders do the same. So I just came down to a simple sentence of what to do when you observe so many things that you may like and not like. Remember who's running the show. Once you got that down, you'll be okay. Remember who's running the show. then you don't connect yourself that much to the leaders who are like puppets on strings. You begin to go to the source, and they have only one thing that they do. They're not political. They're not interested in one country being better than another. What they're interested in is you gaining the consciousness of being in the God state. And they'll do whatever it takes to help humanity to advance their consciousness to that end, to the God state. And if it takes pain or if it takes pleasure, whatever it takes, that's what you get. And it can happen in your personal life. It doesn't have to be on a national scale, but it can be anything and everything. They have one objective: to help you gain the consciousness of your real self, which is the real goal of all of everyone. It don't matter who they are. So when you look at the world situation, just remember this one sentence: remember who's running the show. And it'll help you a lot not to get too involved and absorbed in all the problems that you see.
I see Cliff has his hand up, Irwin.
What did you say?
I didn't know if you were finished, but Cliff has his hand up for a
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Hi,
Cliff.
Irwin. Happy birthday to you and everyone.
Happy birthday. Baba birthday.
Um, I have a question about whether or not you get intuitive instructions or guidance from Baba, and if you do or you feel you do, how do you distinguish that from tricks your mind might be playing on you? I know of several Baba lovers who think they got instructions or voices from Meher Baba, and then come to realize that, gee, maybe not.
Well, there was something that happened with my brother Edward at the time. This was some years back, of course. And Baba was was alive at that time in his body. And he was getting what he felt were instructions from Baba, which had to do with diet and other things that he would tell other people that they should do, because this is what Baba was telling him that they should do for others. And this went on for some time. And the things he was saying didn't sound bad. They sounded okay. It was not going to hurt or harm anybody. But then someone in the Baba group decided to write to Baba and ask him if he was really sending Edward these instructions. So Baba wrote back right away. And he said that I have not come to create more dreams for you, but to wake you up from all dreaming. Because my brother would get this in these dreams that he had, or whatever impressions he was getting. And Baba said that he should now write to all the people that he had contacted about what Baba said to do, and tell them that Baba did not give these kind of instructions, but he's come to wake us up from all the dreaming. And so he did that, but my brother was very obedient, and he did that. And that was the end of that. Baba has a specific purpose in being here, and he wants to get you out of illusions. These are not things that are going to advance you out of illusion, what you eat or what these other items that people's desires and fulfilling them and all of that. Anyhow, that was Baba's answer to this at that time. I've come to wake you up from all dreaming, not to create more dreams for you. So we stick to him for that purpose. Of course, if there's things that happen in your life and you still living in the everyday life, you can't get away from that. And you need help with something, you could always ask him, and then circumstances will change. Usually that's what happens. He works a lot through circumstance. I mean, I can't say that he can't do it any which way he wants. With my dad, for instance, he was not a believer in Mayor Baba at all, and was quite hostile to Baba for a long time. And I thought about my father's hostility and all of that, and I thought, Baba can do something to help him, but it has to be something that is so undeniable to my father that he just could not say that it didn't happen. Because my father was very much, he was a very intelligent man, but he was also considered himself a realist. That what he experienced and what he saw through his senses was the real thing. And he was a realist. That's the way he would talk about himself. Well, I did approach Baba about that he should do something for him to make him understand something that he wouldn't otherwise understand. And it had to be so undeniable that he couldn't help but to know it happened. Sure enough, one day my father tells me something. He says, something happened. Oh, I said, well, what happened? He says, I can't tell you because you won't believe it. So he goes on like that, he's not going to tell me because I won't believe it. And then he keeps talking about it. He says, but it definitely happened. I'm a realist and I know what happens and I know what is real. And he says, this happened. So so I'm saying to him, finally I tell him, I said, look, Dad, I've heard many stories from people, and if they say it's true, I have no reason to not believe it. So he tells me, okay, I'll tell you what it is. I'm sitting in my chair in my living room. I'm reading the newspaper, and I suddenly feel that there's a presence in the room. So I put the paper down, and I see there's Mayor Bobby standing in front of me. And he's dressed in his white gown, and there's two disciples with him, and he motions for them to sit down on the carpet. He said, don't be surprised that you hear me speak, because where I am now, I can speak. He tells me this. And then he goes on to tell me so many other things. And I'm listening. And my father's the kind of person, he's the great talker. He will talk and talk and talk. He doesn't listen. He wants others to listen. But nevertheless, he tells me this. He says, and I'm listening to Baba. And Baba tells me, I'll come to see you 3 times, but the 3rd time will be the last. And then he says, now, that was all. And then he just vanished with the other. And my father says, now, this happened. I'm a realist and I know it happened. So I'm thinking, I asked Baba to show him something that he could not deny. And there it is, he couldn't deny it. He kept saying. And the reason that I think that he didn't want me to know because he thought I'd deny it is because if anyone told him a story like this, he would consider it Baba monsters. In Jewish, it means grandmother stories, like fantasies, Baba monsters. And he just would never have believed it if anyone else had said something like that. But because it happened to him, he couldn't deny it. So he had this happen. And it did help to transform him. eventually Baba did appear to him, and he told me about the 3 times. And he said that he considered Mayor Baba as his friend now because Baba understands him. That's what he said. Okay. So there you have that, so he can do it in any which way. But in my experience, he does it mainly through circumstance. You need some help in something, so the circumstances change and you are able to have that, get that. He doesn't do, things that are supernatural, usually. But you can't say, he'll do whatever it takes to be able to help you in whichever which way it works. It's like Judy says, the best plan is the one that works. I think time is up. Is that right?
Well, I don't see any more hands up right now, and we are so grateful that you're here with that cough. It sounds like you need some rest time to
Oh,
heal.
well, I'm going to live until I die. And that's that's my deal here. They
Well,
asked me, what do you owe your old age to? I said, not dying. That helps. Anyhow, that's it.
Irwin, it's so wonderful to be with you always, and especially on Baba's birthday today. You bring us many presents every time. And I think the presents are buried in your experiences, and we're so grateful. So
Happy to
thank
be able to tell you all the things that
Yeah.
happened, and at least some of the things.
Yeah, we're grateful to Judy too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irwin.
Thank you, Urban.
There, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Birthday,
Baba.
Judy.
Thank you, Irwin.
Thank you, J. Baba Irwin.
Jai
Baba.
Mayor Baba.
J. Baba. J. Baba.
There's Ralph. Jai Baba Ralph.
J. Baba.
So Irwin, are you guys going to have cake today? Are you going for?
Well, I'd like to.
Yeah, I
know,
think that's a good plan.
Yeah. Cake is good. Never turn down a good cake.
I hear that.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you. Jai Baba, everyone.
J. Baba.